via Facebook streaming, YouTube streaming, and via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this morning's live streaming from our studios in Trinidad. The month of May is important for certain reasons. Number one, on the full moon day in the month of May, Gautam Siddhartha attained to enlightenment. This year the full moon falls on 16th of May. Enlightenment, the indescribable phenomena, something that you have never experienced before, something that you cannot imagine what will happen, and what happens after this experience. It is erroneous to say that Buddha attained enlightenment. Enlightenment is always there. Only thing is this: the moment our eyes open and we experience the magnanimous, we experience the indescribable phenomena that is constantly happening in the cosmos, we describe it as enlightenment. Buddha was born in a royal family. His father was of an advanced age when he was born. He was the only son. As it happens, at the time of the birth, astrologers were called to make his horoscope. All the astrologers said that he will be a great king, because all these astrologers and people like that, they say things to please the king. There was a young astrologer who said there is no possibility for him to be a king. He will be recluse, an enlightened master. He was not liked, but the king heard with great enthusiasm and tried to ask his royal astrologer to find the ways and means. He said it may happen that he may see some unusual happening and he may turn off from the life and he may enter into the life of a recluse. So try and make some kind of arrangement that he does not see any unusual happening. So a special palace was built for him. At an early age, he was married to one of the most beautiful person of that time, Yashodhara. Yash means the fame. Dhara means is also meant the earth, the fame of the earth. A special palace was built. There were gardeners. He said that it may happen he may see a leaf turning yellow. He may ask questions. If a leaf falls from the tree, he may ask a question, and there will be no answer to this question: why leaves turn yellow, why leaves fall. It happened one day. A Westerner, Schopenhauer, was wandering in a garden. A child was there. He asked a question, why do leaves are green? Philosophy does not answer this question. You may say that this is a scientific answer, that it is because of chlorophyll, a substance in the plant, that leaves look green. But Schopenhauer could not answer the question. So he asked the child. Child said, I think leaves are green because they are green. A simple question. So there used to be gardeners working in the garden. In the night they will pick all the yellow leaves and the leaves that have fallen, so that Buddha does not have any such unusual happening around him. There used to be always, as in the Western terminology we say, partying, alcohol, girls, and all these kind of things were happening. One destined night, after the usual party, the girls and all of them were lying there. After they were drunk, their clothes were disabled. They're lying in an awkward positions. Buddha watched. Some of them had their mouth partly open and flies were around. He asked his charioteer, who was his friend, to take him for a walk. Went on the chariot, and there he saw first a sick person. He asked his charioteer, who is he? The charioteer said, this man is sick. Buddha asked the question, does everyone get sick? He said yes. He could not say no to him. Then he saw an old man. Again a question arose. Buddha asked, who is he? He said he is an old man. He asked the question, does everyone get old? Yes was the answer. Then he saw a dead body. Oh, who is this? This is the dead body. Dead body means what? The person has died. So it is being carried for the funeral rites. Does everyone die? Yes was the answer. Buddha did not return to the palace. Buddha did not return to the palace. He said, if this is the destiny of life, then what is the purpose of this kind of life? He cut off his hair. He changed his garb, put on the clothes of the recluse. The charioteer went with him up to a certain distance in the woods. Thereafter, Buddha relieved him also, and he said, from now my journey will be alone. And he went. He did all that was possible for 6 years. Did this and that, whatsoever was the tradition at that time, but nothing happened. He did not get the answer to his questions that were lurking behind his mind. He had 5 followers. Then Buddha started fasting, and he lived on 1 grain of rice for 6 months. He had become frail and weak. Nothing happened. Then Buddha left the path, the traditional path, and went on the path of meditation. Seeing this, that these 5 friends who later on became his disciples and to whom he gave first sermon at Sarnath after the enlightenment dawned on him. They thought that this Buddha had left the path and he had gone astray. They left him. Buddha continued. It was a full moon night. With the fasting, his body has become very frail and lean, very weak. There was a river, Niranjana river, which is a stony river. He could not cross over to that river as he was so weak. While crossing the river, he fell. He held on to the branch that was leaning from almost the other shore of the river, held on to that and remained in the river, watching the stars disappear one after the other. Then somehow he gathered the courage and got up and he created a bed of leaves under the Bodhi tree. Bodhi tree is actually people tree. The Hindi word is people, and it has a unique characteristic. All the trees, they release carbon dioxide in the night. That is why it is said, do not sleep under the tree during the night. But people tree is one that releases oxygen in the night. That is why it is known as the tree of awakening. In our hometown, there was a big people tree. The roots were so deep that they were spread under the ground almost in a mile radius. Nobody knew who planted that tree, as we have heard that it was over 1,000 years. And it was so huge that in the open space where we used to sleep during the night, during the winter, during the summer, the tree, the branches gave the shadow and we used to sleep that. So Buddha sat under that tree. That time a low caste woman called Sujata, she was doing some prayers. She saw this recluse sitting under the tree. She thought that it has been God's grace. Her prayers have been accepted. And she saw the man sitting. She brought food, a feast of 49 different items and offered it to Buddha. One of them was sweet rice cooked in milk, which in Hindi word is known as kheer by different names. So Buddhists think that Buddha sat in lotus posture and he ate the sweet rice. That's why he became enlightened. So on that day, full moon day, during the fasting, that's what they do. But nothing, neither the posture nor this what you eat is important. What is important? What is the inner state? Inner state. You have to understand this. Once I happened to be a garden. The garden had one kind of soil, only one soil, spread far and wide the entire garden. There was one sun that was giving light to all the plants that were there. The same clouds were providing the rainfall and watering the plants. There was a single gardener who was taking care of all the plants there. Even the For watering the plant, there was one source from where all the plants were watered. But when the spring came, all the plants blossomed. They were flowers of different color, different fragrance. The yellow rose, the pink, the white, the blue, the night queen, the chrysanthemum in different colors, the marigold. All these flowers, they were born out of the same source, nourished and nurtured by the same sunlight, watered by the same source, yet still the blossom was different. Such is the situation of each one of us. We are being nourished and nurtured by one source, one light, everything is one, yet still the blossoming is different. Buddha blossoms, Siddhartha blossomed as Gautam Buddha on the full moon night in the month of May. Someone else. So it is that what kind of program that you carry within you. When you go, it is like when you go to the computer place and you buy a laptop and you program it. You get the software to suit your needs. So each laptop, your laptop will be designed for your needs, my one for my needs. And we carry a built-in program, each one of us. Buddha was destined to blossom as this way. Taosho was to be blossomed in this way. Osho to be blossomed in another way. That is how it goes on. Enlightenment. And then Buddha attained. There was silence. And someone asked what happened. When the day breaks, there is sunlight. With that, everything gets illumined. The birds start chirping. The flowers starts opening their heart to spread their fragrance and beauty. There is the butterflies start humming, and all these things begin to happen. Is a new dawn of a new awakening. It happened to Buddha. Enlightenment is death of life as it is, or you have reached the end of the tunnel. This is the first step. Then comes the next step, new birth, beginning of a new life, floating in the vastness of the infinite sky. You have known death as the end of life. Certainly not death is the end of life. Indeed, death is a new beginning. Death is a new beginning while you are in the body. This is, in a way, how enlightenment happens. Before this new beginning, the life of chaos, conflict, ego, memory, imagination, that was the way that you were living your life of conflict and ego. Enlightenment is the journey from chaos to cosmos. Cosmos means harmony. Cosmos is a word that refers to the entire planetary system, the solar system. No one is doing anything, yet still everything is happening as a synergistic harmony. The sun rises, and you think that sun is rising, sun never rises. It is because the other planets, even the sun is moving on its axis, the earth is moving on its axis, and it's also revolving around the other planets. So because of that, a certain part of the earth comes in directly in front of the sun. That's what we call sunrise. And the other side of the earth that remains away from the sunlight remains the night. Afterwards, it is a life of cosmos, from chaos to cosmos, from conflict to harmony, from ego to oneness, from memory to no mind, to the state of nowness. Life is all inclusive. It is the experience of oneness as well. You can call this experience as enlightenment. It always happens differently, but the ultimate results remains the same. As the blossoming of the flower happened in that garden differently to different, but there was one common thing which is blossoming. Every flower blossomed. The tree grew to a certain maturity, and the buds appeared, buds opened, there was blossoming. There was enlightenment is the cosmic blossoming. All around there is blossoming. You see a new dawn of new awakening. Therefore, enlightenment is a very strange phenomenon, indescribable in words. Yet attempts have been made to describe the phenomenon. In many ways, language is limited, and that is the only way to explain the unexplainable, to describe the indescribable. Yet attempts have been made to describe the phenomenon. It is mysterious. You have known life up to now in one way. Now suddenly everything changes. The perspective changes. There is a new dawn. You are overwhelmed. You want to speak, yet words fail to explain what happened. You want to feel what is happening, yet all senses fail to experience that realization, that feeling. You do not want to talk, but at the same time you cannot remain quiet. You want to remain quiet, but you cannot remain quiet. Neither the sleep nor wakefulness. You are asleep yet awake. That's why Buddha never sleeps. Anand, who was Buddha's elder cousin, and after he became Buddha's monk disciple, before that he asked 3 boons. He said, the first is that I will live always with you and sleep in the same room where you sleep. Second, you will not send me anywhere as you send the other monks to spread your message. Thirdly, you will never entertain or meet any person without my presence. Buddha reluctantly gave those because these boons, Anand thought he was asking something great, but it became an obstruction in his own process of enlightenment. he could not become enlightened in Buddha's life. Although he was like a shadow around Buddha, he has heard all that Buddha spoke 42 years of his ministry. He spoke on various topics, addressed many monks on Avantapindika, and he has heard everything. But yet still he was not enlightened. When after Buddha entered into Mahasamadhi, a conference of the awakened ones happened, but some of them, Sariputta, Mudgalyam, Mahakashyap, they have time to time went to the other areas to spread the message of peace and harmony. And it happened that at times they were not around Buddha, but Anand never went anywhere. He heard every single word that Buddha spoke. But he was not allowed because he was not enlightened. That means you have not developed that faculty. You may say that you have heard Buddha, you may add your own words, your own language, and the purity of the message of Buddha be missed. Anand cried. He remained outside that place where the conference was to take place. He could not sleep all night. He remained awake, and 24 hours it took for him to become awakened. That is why the people who are in the close vicinity of the awakened one or the master, they miss, because under the light, under the lamp, there is darkest. So Anand asked Buddha a question, that I have slept in the same room where you sleep, I have watched you sleeping, but I have never seen you turning your sides. Buddha said, my mind is at rest. There is no chaos, there is no conflict. What Shankar says, Mano Buddhi Ahankar Chittani Naham. I am neither the mind, nor the memory, nor identity, that I do not have a Hindu identity or Muslim identity or Christian identity or masculine identity or feminine identity. My identity is cosmic. I belong to this cosmos. I am not a man nor a woman. I am the union of the two, the oneness, the harmony between male and female, because as such you are born out of the interaction between ovum and sperm, but they remain constantly in different forms at conflict as loggerhead with one another, in the form of the left brain and the right brain, in the form of anima and animus, in the form of energy or the phenomena. Buddha said, my body needs rest, I do not. I am always restful. An awakened one is always restful. You would have observed, if you had been in close proximity of an awakened one, you may have traveled and you may have come from a far away place. You have a jet lag, you need rest, but the master does not need rest. As soon as he lands, he is as fresh as anything else, in spite of long journey or whatsoever it may be. Because there is harmony, and that harmony brings oneness, that brings always freshness. that brings restfulness. But the body, which is a combination of various elements, needs rest. So when you turn sides while sleeping, unconsciously, because mind is constantly at work, and when mind is not at work, it is in a restful state, then you do not sleep, you rest. There is a difference between sleep and rest. Sleep is unconscious, rest is conscious sleep, and sleep is unconscious rest. So it is totally different state. And it happened. You are neither asleep nor awake. You are asleep and yet awake. This is the way it has to be said. You are asleep and you are awake. Something you cannot understand, yet trying to understand in every possible way. Yet there is ecstasy both within and without. You want to smile or laugh and cry at the same time. A state of madness. Madness is journey below the mind. Awakening is another kind of madness which is beyond mind. Almost a kind of madness overwhelms. There is turbulence, yet there is joy. There is fear that you are losing all identities that you have created up to now, that I am the son of a king. I am a male, I am married to this, I am a father of a son. I am a master who have so many monks as disciples. There is fear that you are losing all identities you have created to define you up to now. All are lost in a flash. In that flash, it is like lightning. It is the dark night, the darkest. All of a sudden there is thunder and lightning. In the lightning, you get the glimpse of the path. And all are lost in a flash of lightning. No more identification with the body. Body has its own work. Body has its own process of deterioration. But that which is within is never born, never dies. You experience that which is never born, never dies. Thereafter, life does not remain the same. You may be in the world, but the world is not in you. No more identification with the body or its various components. What are the various components? Memory, intelligence, sense organs. Whatever you have considered up to now is losing its ground. It is as if there is an explosion. There is an explosion into everything around. The light that is overflowing through you is entering into every single speck that is around. The rocks, the plants, the rivers, the ocean, the creature, everything without an exception, utter sanity. It seems that this experience lasts for 15, 20 years, but it is like the dissolving notes of an enchanting melody that you have heard once. Your master has called you once lovingly. The echoes continue to linger in your ears like the dissolving note of an enchanting melody. Always. Always remember after that, you can never forget that moment what had happened to you. Whenever you are in the moments of solitude, you remember that. You rejoice, you can smile sitting all by yourself. But after coming back to the normal life, consciousness seems to be much longer. Hours, you feel as if hours have passed. Time stops in that moment. Time stops. And you have experienced time freezing during the moments of ecstasy or melancholy. But there is neither ecstasy nor melancholy. Still time has frozen. I still recall that moment. That time could not understand what was happening. You have someone who has gone through such experience around you, it becomes easy. In that way, I was lucky. In that respect, as my grandmother was around, ecstasy overflowing, and you are completely drenched in it, without hunger or any desire to remain sitting, unmoving still. Time flowed. Time flowed without giving you a slightest inkling. Minutes and hours and days have passed. Minutes, although the phenomena happens in 15 to 20 minutes, but time flows. Time flowed without giving you a slightest inkling. Minutes or hours or days have passed. Just 24 hours before, everything was different. And now, everything transformed in many ways, in infinite ways, genetically, physically, mentally, and psychologically as well. Suddenly the hair start graying. You attain, the body begins to age. Because what is the ultimate destiny of a seed? The ultimate destiny of the seed is to blossom, to spread its beauty and fragrance. After that, that journey is finished. The seed has attained the optimum. The flower is the ultimate in the journey of the seed to flower, from chaos to cosmos. The cosmos has happened. There is no desire to live anymore. There comes a gap between the consciousness and the body. Earlier the body was in the consciousness, or the life force was ingrained in every cell of the body. Then there comes a gap between the two. Body lives on its own, undergoes the process of transformation, but the being lives on beyond time and space, encaged within the prison walls of the body. Just 24 hours before, everything was different, and now everything is transformed in many ways, infinite ways, genetically, physically, mentally and psychologically. The ultimate flowering has happened. There is nothing beyond this. You enter into an eternal, timeless zone. It is the fallacy of the language that we have to say that you enter into an eternal, timeless zone. But this zone always existed and you were unaware of it. Now it had dawned on you. If while sitting here you can experience this oneness, eternity within, there is nothing more to teach you anything. Laughter, care, compassion, ecstasy, fearlessness, or anything else. This inclusiveness, this harmony, this oneness, this bliss becomes the way of life, way of living, concern, care, and the way of teaching, so that each one of you can experience this inclusiveness with the entire cosmos. We are not aliens nor as strangers joined. We are bound to each other by a causeless force, and that causeless force is God, as you may call it. Once this inclusiveness is experienced by the world leadership, this planet will transform into a beautiful place with different quality of responsibility to find solutions to anything you can. Then you do all that you need to do in any given situation without holding anything. The day Buddha was to leave the body, someone said, "Now you will not be alive anymore, and we will miss you so much for lives." To this Buddha responded, "But I died long ago. And for the last 40 years, I was not aware that I was alive. That is why I said enlightenment is in a way death, the end of one tunnel. The tunnel had two openings. One is the entry, the other is exit. The tunnel is the same. You were standing at the opening, but now you have come out from the exit and you have come into the vastness of the sky. The vast sky as the canopy, the sunlight, the moonlight, the stars, the planets. But I have died long ago. And for the last 40 years, I was not aware that I was alive. The day enlightenment happened, I died. I died as memory. We live as memory. We live as intellect. We live as ego sense. In the flash, when enlightenment dawns, all these things die. This is what you are comprised of. You are comprised of the memory, the identities. Buddha has no identity. Your identity is that you are this, you are that. Your identity is with the religion, your identity is with the nation, your identity is with the community, your identity, so many identities you have, and amidst all that, that which is your real identity remains engraved, remains buried under all these other identities. In Buddha, all that identities have vanished. There remains only one cosmic identity. The day enlightenment happened, I died. But Buddha was really alive, only an awakened one is alive. Aliveness means you are beyond memory, beyond identity, beyond ego sense. The day enlightenment happened to him, he died outwardly. And when you die outwardly, you are reborn again. That's why initiation is a new birth. According to Hindu way, it is called twice born, Dvij. One birth is given to you by the mother. The other birth is given to you by the master. He infuses into you new life force, new Ellen White, new energy. The enlightenment happened to him. He died outwardly and thus he became really alive. Buddha was so alive, so relaxed and so spontaneous. He had no fear of death. Buddha is deathless. Buddha is deathless. On this day, when we celebrate, we remember all those who have been around us and have attained to this is most important. Utter sanity. There is an explosion all around in everything around you. Time stops. Ecstasy continues to overflow. Life goes on. You are so overwhelmed. You want to speak, yet words fail to explain. You want to feel what is happening, yet senses fail to explain. I have tried to explain in an unexplainable manner, using the language which can encompass all that has happened. Buddham sharanam gacchami, dharmam sharanam gacchami, sangham sharanam gacchami. Buddha used the Pali language, the language of the time. Sharanam, he was not born in the West. He was working among the monks who knew only one language, so he has to use that language. I have to use a different language which is accessible by all. So with the awakening, with the enlightenment, language also gets enlightened. The words that you use in a different, with a different meaning, with a different connotation. Buddham means, in a musical language we do not call it Buddham. Dham. Dham means that which is Buddham. When you see that they recite this word Dham, it like as if something is descending deep down into you to the very source of life. Buddham, Sharanam, everything else ends with the sound M. M is a sound, when it is created, it reverberates and like the steam, it enters and merges into the inner sky. When you put the water on the stove to heat and the water begins to boil, slowly and slowly all water evaporates into steam and disappears in the cosmos. So when the sound M is created, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham, all these ends with this sound M. M is the ultimate sound. The first sound is then O, and Ma, that dissolves. This sound destroys all that has been unwanted within you. When you chant, you create this sound and it begins to reverberate within and evaporates and covers up the entire inner sky. It is like destroying all that was unwanted. It is this Shiva element, as Hindus call it, that destroys the meditative element, the cosmic energy. Shiva is energy, and the body is that which sustains that energy. The mind, the everything that is finite, that sustains and overflows that energy. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. I go to the shelter of the awakened one. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Dham means the existential law. That is the religion. Not Hinduism, Christianity or Islam is the religion. This is the way of life. The religion is Dham, the principle that sustains you, the harmony. And Sangham means the commune of such a person. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. When you go to the company of the awakened one, this is the first step, then all the other happens naturally. The Dhammam, you come to the shelter, recluse, to the commune of that where this reverberates, where this echoes. This eternal principle echoes. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami, the commune, the khanka of such an awakened one. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Only this much for this morning. Until tomorrow, meet again on another journey. Take care and do have a pleasant day.